This is Professor Pete Alexander with the Winning at Business and Life podcast, where business leaders share their insights. It is 6 questions in 7 minutes because successful business leaders are busy and rarely have more time to spare. So let's get to it. Question number 1. In a few sentences, please tell me who you are and what you do.
Hi, I believe that when you have your health, you have 1,000 dreams and possibilities, and when you don't, you only have one. I'm Dr. Pat Boulogne, and I make sense of complex and challenging situations and problems, whether it be mind, body, or soul, and find a better way with simple solutions that get you unstuck, move forward, better, faster, and with measurable results.
Dr. Pat, it's great to have you on the show. Question
Thank
number
you.
2. What's the best thing about working in your industry?
Well, going back to my statement, when the best thing is to see people have that moment where they get it and they expand, their consciousness expands. So they get, like how to get unstuck, how to move forward, and they live better, healthier, and longer.
That's really powerful. I love it.
Yeah.
Question number 3. I have a fictitious book with all the answers for business. What chapter would you think most companies should read?
I think they should read the first chapter, and it would be called Don't Put the Cart Before the Horse.
I agree with you. That's a really powerful one. Question number 4. Other than the generic work harder, have a great attitude, and care for customers, what advice or insight would you give to other business leaders?
Well, the slogan or the line for work harder or work smarter, not harder, always makes me feel like I'm being punished. So I like to look at that and reframe that to how to work differently and simply. And simple doesn't make it easier, but it makes it much more achievable.
So if you're working more simpler, if I understand you correctly, it's breaking things down into more manageable components?
Right, like chunking it down,
Mhm.
and so that you're achieving a lot more and without perhaps a time frame on it, and so that you're getting a lot more done, and you can look at your rewards a lot easier by chunking it down and making it more simple with those
Mm,
solutions.
Gotcha. That's great. Question number 5. What other business leader like yourself would you like to acknowledge and invite to be on my podcast?
Well, I would invite two for sure. And my first one is Nelson Bomash, who is a chiropractor and has a podcast like event in his own realm down in Atlanta, Georgia. And he's with United Intentions. And Todd Nelson, he's a naturopathic doctor, and who I find his rhyme and reason very balanced. He's reasonable. They both have a ton of common sense.
Oh, I love it. Those are 2
Yeah.
great referrals. Thank you so much. And our
Welcome.
final question, question number 6. Please tell me about your first job.
Well, I was a teacher, a professor at a chiropractic college, but I was teaching public speaking. And on the last day, which was their final exam, I had a brown bag called, and the day was called, Good Things Come in Brown Wrappers. And so everyone had to put their hand in, pick a word out, write it on the board, and talk about it for 3 minutes. So the very first person, who was about 5 feet tall, puts his hand in, shuffles around the Sunday Atlanta Constitution, and pulls out the word big. And he writes the word big on the board. But when he wrote it, it might have only been like 2 inches high. And the class is kind of laughing, and he was trying, and he struggled for 3 minutes. And then about 3 or 4 people later on, this guy where he puts his hand in, big guy, and he gets the word small. And so he erases the board and he writes the word small all across the board. And it was very cool because he helped this person who thought big was this big to think that big could be bigger than his small. I mean, in
Mm.
actuality. And it was so great to see how he did that and for this guy to get it. And, it was that was a rewarding moment, being a professor at this school. And it happened with a lot of people in that class because it gave them the ability to talk impromptu and such. It was really great. But for in that particular instance, the look on this guy's face when he got that big could have been big, I think changed the rest of his life. And Robert Maddox, who did that, he did such a great job at bringing him into the realm. It was good.
What a great story. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. So Dr. Pat, thank you so much for being on the show. How can people find you?
Well, you can find me in a couple ways. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a website called healthteamnetwork.com. That's another way to find me. And I have Facebook. I have a Facebook presence, but I have a much larger presence on LinkedIn. So that's to be the best way to do it.
Perfect. This is Professor Pete Alexander with the Winning at Business and Life podcast. For more insights and ideas, please go to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or iTunes and search for the Winning at Business and Life podcast. Thanks for listening.